We did see Congress. They held its first hearing in over 3 decades on anti-Asian American discrimination. And you had a tense moment playing out. Republican Congressman Chip Roy and Democratic Congresswoman Grace Meng at odds over just how to address this issue.
My concern about this hearing is that it seems to want to venture into the policing of rhetoric in a free society, free speech.
Your president and your party and your colleagues can talk about issues with any other country that you want, but you don't have to do it by putting a bullseye on the back of Asian Americans across this country, on our grandparents, on our kids. This hearing was to address the hurt and pain of our community and to find solutions, and we will not let you take our voice away from us.
An emotional moment there in that hearing. Weijia, I want to turn to you on this. You have covered this extensively. These numbers are staggering. 3,800 incidents of hate against Asian Americans, against immigrants in this community. What are you hearing from people in the community? And is there a genuine fear that there is going to be more attacks?
Rachel, I've talked to so many victims at this point, and they do fear for their lives, quite frankly, because they have been attacked before, they are survivors, and they understand what could have happened. And they've seen other people lose their lives after attacks on members of the Asian community. So while they are extremely grateful that President Biden and the administration has taken a very firm stance against the rhetoric surrounding COVID-19 that may have led to these attacks, and even though the president has made a commitment to do something, at this point, they want to know what that is, right? So they're calling for federal money, for example, to be, directed toward advocacy groups given to victims to handle the situation after they have been attacked. And they are calling on lawmakers to pass new legislation that would take concrete steps to make it easier to track these cases and easier to prosecute these cases. And so even though there is some optimism, because obviously this is a very different tone than we saw from before, now they are waiting to see what comes out of it. Because even though words matter a lot, action is what they are looking for.
And just to follow up with you, Weijia, on that, because you press President Donald Trump against his words, against his rhetoric that he used to describe the virus, to describe the pandemic. We talk about words mattering. We heard from President Joe Biden today a very stark contrast, Weijia.
Right. So, I think when we look back at the way President Trump spoke about the virus, it really comes down to redirecting blame. The worse that the situation became here in the U.S., the more we saw him turn up the rhetoric because he wanted to, take attention away from his own administration's failed response. So we know this of the former president, that he wants to control his own message and he wants to change the headline by creating distractions, which is why he did not shy away from using some controversial language. But at the end of it, when you look at why, it really is because, he wanted to blame another country, China in particular, for what was happening in the U.S., even though it was under his watch and even though it was the result of his missteps. And so I think that's why those words resonated so much with Asian Americans who believe that's why they're being targeted, because other Americans are also looking for a scapegoat, just like the president did.
Dan, I want to turn to you.